Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV. As I'd mentioned earlier, we're coming back, and this segment is all about post-exams anxiety. And joining me in studio is none other than Ms. Saida. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, thank you.
And the conversation, I know that we've seen kids have already finished exams. So it's all about, accepting your results. If you have that post-exam, anxiety, how are we going to have those children, deal with it? And alhamdulillah, as just to start off the conversation, educators and parents are the main. They play the biggest part in ensuring that the children are able to deal with anxiety. What's the first thing you would love to start on?
Assalamu alaikum, shukran. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Post-exam anxiety is something that is there. First, it starts with us knowing what is post-exam anxiety before we go to educators, and probably some of us, maybe they are not aware of what is post-exam anxiety. So this is a feeling that comes after a child or a student gets less than the expectations. Probably it is what the expectations that they have been wired by the systems, by the people around them. So based on that, if a child now gets less than what they were told they were expected of, they experience emotional, physical, and physiological to some extent stresses that happens. So the parents and the educators are the main stakeholders. So the first thing they can do is just enhancing the acceptance. That's the first stage. The first stage of the coping with the anxiety is to accept it. So enhancing that, the child should accept what they get, and providing that environment of acceptance is the first way parents and teachers can help the students cope with this one. And then showing some compassion. We know compassion is the basics of everything. When you show compassion, you can attract the child towards you, and you can start having clear conversation. Then probably professional assistance and help. The parents and educators can seek professional help, like counseling and professional coaches who will help the child undergo the experience. So basically we can say it is acceptance and also seeking professional help. That's the first and the most important way.
Very, very well put. Now let's talk about strategies that probably you could advise people to take when it comes to managing post-exam anxiety.
Okay, someone has post-exam anxiety, what can they do? Yes, if you have post-exam anxiety, as we said, you first start when the community, the parent, the stakeholders accept you, you also accept it. So it starts with self-acceptance. The second is adopting positive mindset, and knowing that as a student or as a child, you are beyond grades, you are beyond the marks you got, you have potentials. And in that process, someone may discover something great. They can be good and great at it. So one of the strategies is to do self-reflection. The other one is self-acceptance and accepting what one has. And then foremost is also adopting the positive mindset that you can do more things. The positive mindset is a quite overused word. There is another word which is more often used in the psychology world. We call it growth mindset. Growth mindset is someone adopting that whatever efforts you have done is what matters, not the results. So if the child now is given that mindset, yes, you have put the efforts that was needed, and your efforts determine the person you are, not the results you got. So enhancing that, that's one of the strategies a person can use or a child can use. And if the child is not aware of that, they can be guided towards that, towards growth mindset, towards making the child appreciate the efforts they have done.
And I know you've mentioned self-reflection, which is very, very important to an individual. For anyone who's out there and probably has felt that they were expecting a higher mark. Sometimes you do fail, but you expected to, more grades. What do you have to say about that when it comes to self-reflection?
Self-reflection, okay, self-reflection is usually how can I put it? It's usually an intensive process that is not easy for someone to undergo alone. So what In fact, what brings the anxiety is lack of self-reflection.
Yeah.
I would say this child, since the systems we have programmed this child since young that if you get this type of marks, you are intelligent. If you get this, you are not intelligent. So they have been classified from day go, and their mind has been fixated to that. So this child never had a chance to do self-reflection. So when post-exam anxiety comes, that is when now the child will start thinking, or the student will start thinking, I didn't get the marks I wanted. I was a 400 student, but I got a 350.
Yes.
What happened? Okay, am I no longer intelligent? That's the question the child asks. Their self-reflection now begins. And it's at that point that we need parents and educators to come in, and help the process of self-reflection. When the child is questioning themselves at that point, or the student is doing the questioning, we need the parent to say, no, 350 is okay.
Yes.
You used to get 400, but even 350 is max, and you can do beyond this. But do you think, like for example, let's say for primary kids, it is too early for us to judge their marks?
Yes.
For example, a parent or a teacher can say, can take the route of saying telling the child that, yes, you got 350, but do you know in high school there are no multiple choices? So you can read and explain essays in high school.
Yes.
So the student will start feeling, yes, there's something I can do, you know, like.
Yes.
So taking them to another level. Let's say for Form 4 leavers, they got a grade that they didn't expect. At that point, you tell as a parent or as an educator or even someone in the community, you just tell the student that after all, if you got, there are many people who got an A, but right now they lack jobs. Do you know an A is not going to give you a job?
Yes.
There are many people who got a D and they made. So based on your grade, what do you think you can do for the world? And what do you think you can contribute to the greater good? By asking such questions, the child is going to already do self-reflection and discover the potentials they have.
I love how you've mentioned it's all about what can you do
for the world. Yeah,
exactly.
It's beyond yourself. Okay, the systems we have, unfortunately, and the education system that is in the world has indoctrinated us that at some point we are defined by our grades, regardless of what. There's okay, I'm a reader and I always suggest books to be read, and I advocate for reading culture. There's a book written by Dr. Carol Dweck, a professional psychologist, which is called Mindset, How to Fulfill Our Potentials. The day I read that book is when I realized that, okay, there's something you can do for the world, you know, like beyond yourself. The systems we have, particularly post-exam anxiety, exist because even our parents, even our teachers, they have the same mindset because, okay, it is what we have been told. Nobody told us any better. Nobody told us there's something that exists in us. So I always say that a shift from fixed mindset and someone's potentials not measured by grades, and initiating a self-reflection for the child that you are beyond grades. And what can you do for the world? Asking the child that question. And if it's a primary kid, you ask them that, if I could have given you that science topic, could you write it down? The child says, yes, probably, I know how to explain it. Then that's what you do in high school. 350 is not an issue.
It's not an issue. I love that. Now, the mind is a very powerful tool. And right now, for those students who probably are having anxiety, tell us some of the techniques to ease, the mind.
Yeah, okay, we can have some relaxation techniques like focusing on the moment. Each day when the student wakes up, you focus on what at that moment, like what can I do today? You focus on the moment, present moment. Focusing on the present moment is one of the ways to give yourself, you always meditate that, okay, you are today, tomorrow is past, 300 probably, 200, 100 marks was yesterday. So today is a brand new day, what can I do better? And then the students who are undergoing stresses may have some physiological upsets, like they don't have appetite or whatever. So proper meals, getting enough sleep. Even if one is not feeling like sleeping, you just forcing, like I can say forcing or something, to at least sleep for between 6 to 8 hours, because proper sleep will do. And then doing exercises, because when someone does exercise, the mind opens up. There is a lot of blood circulation going in the mind, and then you're going to think differently. And most importantly is focusing on today. That is adoption of the positive mind. That is, and a child or a student cannot do. They need help. They need help from educators, from parents, from the people in the community, and the whole community to just make that, create that environment of making the child feel better. One of the things also someone can do is to think beyond oneself. One of the techniques you can do is engaging in community activities, so that at least the self-worth is restored. Like now the self-worth is in doubt. Yes, I got less than I expected. I got 200, I got 180. according to the systems we have, you are nothing in the community. So how can such a person restore the self-worth? At least the person seeks for things that can, what can I do? Participate this one community activity, help children play, like offer some help or in one way or another, do an activity that will make the child better, will make you as a child or a student better.
Very well put. And you're talking about, children indulging in different activities. Recently, we had 2 students who had passed their KCPE exams, and one of them said that in order to occupy his free time, he's finished the exams, he's got good grades, but he finds himself going back through the papers, the past papers. You're done with the primary education, but you still find yourself perusing, what you were studying. What do you have to say about going back, and also, what is it about leave the past in the past and move forward, as you've mentioned?
Yeah, I think, sometimes I always think about the root crisis of it.
Yes.
Okay, this child now passed the exams. Why do they have to go back to? Because they have been told, and they have been told over and over, that they were somebody and they were a good person if they were reading books. Probably if they were revising, that's how the child got appreciated over a long time of period.
Yes.
So even if now the child got appreciations in form of their grades, they still don't feel like, and they still want to feel an important person.
Yes.
So we have to change from that perspective, from that dynamic, and at least, so let's say now the 400 student who passed can go back to their books comfortably because they have passed and they know what this is. What about the 200 students who cannot go back to books? Because when they go back to books, they're going to cry and they're going to feel the pain. So that's why it's the activities I will particularly encourage as a teacher, as a mentor, and a person who advocates for education is, if at all the child is guided to read, give them books that will open their mind. Give them maybe storybooks, literature books, books that are going to open their mind. So going back to the science that the child has done may not be as essential as giving them another storybook that may boost their language, and then other activities like also community services. Of course, there's a lot of community services. Someone can engage themselves in playing football, giving visiting orphanages, like things that can at least make the person feel they're part of the community. That is what the child needs to feel, or the student.
Very well put. Now, for the parents who are probably listening, how do you tell a parent should they strike a balance when it comes to encouraging academic success and also ensuring that they foster a healthy perspective when it comes to exams results?
Parents play a more huge role than even a larger role than even the teachers and educators. So parents, the first thing I'll say is a parent who is literate and educated is much better in helping the child cope and striking a dialogue and also balancing more than a parent who is not educated. That is the starting point. Okay, for the educated parents, what I will advise is, okay, if the grade your child got is stressing you, please seek for professional counseling. At least at your own capacity as a parent, seek for help. You at least go and inquire from a professional. You get information that you need. You ask the professional, yes, my child got this grade. I wanted them to go to this bigger school. They can't go. So what can I do for this? Like, at least now the parent is going, the professional helper or the counselor is going to give you options. They're going to kind of solve the problems. For the parents who are not educated still, I'll reinforce the counseling. And if you can get professional counseling, like let's say majority of where I come from in northeastern region of Kenya, we don't have much trained counseling, and counseling is not an aspect that actually exists. So such parents, I'll advise that they seek from help and acceptance. They seek modes of acceptance if at all counseling services are not near, and also they ask the teachers and educators who are in the field to give them better options. Yeah, professionally it is just seeking professional help and accepting with compassion what the child got, and then also looking for options. You didn't want your child to go to this school, but it happened, so what are you going to do? So instead of now punishing the child with more trauma, you just look for option B. Yes, you don't want a boarding school, take them to a day school which is near you. At least it's going to ease their stress. You don't want a boarding school, or the child doesn't want, seek for a boarding school you can afford. So you see, it's just balancing, and it all happens with information. So the most important thing is the parents should start seeking information and start educating themselves on the procedure of helping their child.
Very well put. Now let's talk about some of the common misconceptions about success that contribute mostly to post-exam anxiety.
The main thing is, I'd like to question any student who is watching me, or a parent or an educator. What do you believe success to be?
A very good question.
Even you, what do you believe success to be?
I feel success, to me, in my opinion, is when you felt like you've done your best. It doesn't have to be entirely what the society expects of you, but as long as deep in your heart you do feel like you did your best, you know, whatever you received is whatever effort you put in. That, to me, is what success is.
Thank you so much. You have done the input.
Yes.
That is now what life taught you. Probably when you are in primary or high school, you have a different notion of success. When we are in systems, we are inculcated that there is a certain point, there is a certain mark that indicates success. So what I will tell is misconceptions about success is success has been linked to things that are very temporary. If we link success to grades, if we link success to money, if we link success to big houses and big cars, probably the parent, as the dominant script goes, they want their child to get 400 to get a national school, and then they get a good university, and then when they get good university, they get a high-paying job. After high-paying job, the child now builds big house for the parents and drives a big car for his or her parents. So if we have that script of success, if we have that kind of notion of success, we'll never appreciate what our children do or our students do. Rather, we need to accept that success is how much is this child doing an input to their lives. You saw your child trying, reading at night, revising, obeying the teachers. Give that to be a gift of success. When the child goes to the next level, give them more encouragement. Particularly the misconceptions we have is materializing success.
Yes.
So we can say success is not materialistic. 400, some years ago, there was a rampant video, a very viral video of a student who graduated from primary with 400 and something, was the best student, and then went to high school, graduated with an airplane from the best school, and then went to university, graduated with first class honors, and yet he was not having a job for 7 years. So if that child has been given that if you pass, you are successful, the day he passed, there's no job. Success ended there. Inculcating a different script of success. That's basically, I talk that about in this book.
I think you will hold it up properly for the viewers
this is Claim Your Mental Freedom, a book that I published earlier this year. Basically, it has chapters including education and success. So my philosophy of success is either you choose between the two, to be or to do. So do you want to be somebody with a name, with a car, with whatever? Is that notion of success? Or you want to do something and leave an impact? So if we try to inculcate that at an early age, the child can, or the student can cope better. So the materializing success is the main misconception we have. Success is not a material thing, we can't touch it.
I love how you've mentioned one of the misconceptions is people assume that success is a material thing, and I love that point. And just as you've mentioned the book, tell us some of the chapters in this book that probably could point out and help us when dealing with post-distress anxiety.
The first 3 chapters of the book usually focus on, I have drawn I took a trajectory that leads from one to the other. So the first chapter is education, the second chapter is career, and the third chapter is success. So the notion of what a person believes, the notion of education one has usually gives a choice in their career, and the notion of career one believes gives what success means to be. So let's say if someone believes that, education, what is education to you? Let's say someone believes that education is getting papers. So career will mean getting a job with your papers. Success will mean getting money with your papers. That is now, it starts from education. So in my book, I try to give, to liberate the minds of the young people and also the elderly probably, though my target audience is high schoolers basically, just to liberate their minds that education is something beyond grades. Education is something beyond papers. It is what you inculcate in yourself, and career is what you each day do to have an impact. And now success will mean, on that line, success will mean, are you doing your best each day? Yes, I'm successful even if I'm not getting money because I'm doing my best. So that that trajectory is how I took. And if I recommend chapters on students who are dealing with post-exam anxiety, I would say they read those 3 successive chapters, which will open up their mind.
And now, as much as students have received their grades, there are some who are still yet to receive their grades, and they're probably stressed out wherever they are. They're wondering, what happened to my marks? You've seen even a viral video of somebody, a student, asking if the government is taxing their grades as well. So a student like that is already stressed out. What would you love to tell them?
What I love to advise the students who are anticipating, ranging from primary to even high school students who are waiting for results, is to prepare for anything that comes. Get in preparation. There's a famous hadith which says that قدر الله وما شاء فعل. Allah has done this, and it's all in the power of Allah. So having that mindset, that okay, and also growth mindset that we talked about a few while ago, you appreciate your efforts. The students now believes that, yes, I read a lot of chemistry, I have done a lot of biology, I did science to my best capacity, so I expect the best. You just working on the mindset that you accept the best, and what God gives you will be the thing that is better for you. Yes. Sometimes, as the verse in the Quran says, we may love something which is bad for us, and we may hate something which is good for us. So having those therapeutic thoughts and also reinforcing the positive mindset that you did your best, so expect the best. Expect not less than the best. I will also say, I'm always realistic in my coaching and counseling life. I will also say, if you know you're a student who doesn't read and who doesn't revise well, expect what you worked for.
Exactly.
Well, be responsible for.
It is very true, because you can't be a person who was expecting high grades and you had done nothing.
Nothing,
You know, there's also a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, have tawakkul, but tie your camel.
Yeah, exactly. So the students who are being pushed, and then the teachers are telling you, read, you don't read, parents are pushing you this and this, please don't let yourself stress out. You'll get what you worked for.
Yes.
That is it, basically.
Very well put. Now, we talked about, obviously, exams. I don't know if you're familiar with the new curriculum that has recently been implemented in Kenya, CBC. And one of the positive things about the CBC, I can just assume it is positive, is ensuring that every child is a winner. What do you have to say about the CBC curriculum in your own opinion?
CBC, everything has their own pros and cons.
Yes.
CBC, okay, professionally, I've not been into the teaching field for long, that I can just point out the criticism, and then the implementation is also ongoing. Yeah. But one of the, yes, as you said, one of the advantages of CBC is inculcating that each child is a winner. But I always ask myself of the question that you make a child discover their potentials at an early age, and we live in a country that does not pay the potentials of people. Let's say, for example, again, the people who live in Kenya are in diverse cultures, religion, ties. For example, I always take from my community. A girl in my community realizes she's exposed to a lot of games, and she realizes she's a footballer. From grade 6, she wants to pursue arts, and she wants to become a professional footballer. It won't happen because of all the things that are surrounding. So I'll say CBC is a good curriculum, particularly when you see how the children are taught. It's more simplified. Even as a teacher, you will not take a lot of time to explain the concept, because instead of you taking, one of the things they do is they have concepts have been broken down that the child can easily digest. Even if you just tell the child, observe the pictures, they give you whatever. So in teaching and learning, it is easy to absorb, but what makes it probably one of the cons it have is that since it is being anticipated that every child is a winner, which means every child is led to discovering their potentials, as a country, are we ready to buy the potentials of the students who discover? I discover I am a writer and I'm in grade 7. So do I live in a place where I can start publishing books and selling books at that early age? Do I come from such? So like one of the things I feel like CBC is, if we develop as a country, it can be a good trajectory. Otherwise, it also has some limitations, like it also has some advantages, I mean. But as time goes, maybe there could be some changes, and which can allow the system to be implemented still. But one of the main criticism I have against CBC is discovering potentials. You need to prepare to buy the potential. So if the country can do that, if the society can do that, even not the country, it's good to go.
I love that. I really, really love that. It's a very good point that you brought out.
Thank
I
you.
mean,
Thank you
if we're ensuring that every child's potential is maximized, are we ready to accept it? Are we ready to buy, as you've mentioned? And just the next question that I'd love to ask you is, let's talk about having an open dialogue between parents and students post-exam. How much do you encourage parents to sit down with their children and probably talk this through?
I encourage it 100%. If a child is called, they got a result that they didn't want, probably, and they didn't expect. And then if you're calling the child and accepting them, that's the start of the dialogue. You prove as a parent that you are accepting this child, whatever they got. Are you bringing the child closer? And then at that moment, the child can open up and a dialogue can be initiated. It is maximum, it is something that we need 100% maximum to be implemented, that parents should open up conversations and dialogues. And it starts with acceptance, accepting the child for the marks they got, telling the child that, yes, mommy, yes, daddy, you got this marks, come and let's talk about it. What were you expecting anyway? You got 280. So, you know, mommy, I used to get 340. The child of Fulani got, the child of somebody got these marks. So at that moment, you try to also cut down the comparison between the other children.
Yes.
Or maybe even the firstborn got marks, the child got lesser marks. They tell you, our firstborn got 400. I feel like I'm letting you down. So at that moment, the parent can try to change the mindset of the child by keeping away the comparison. Telling the child that you are special in your own way, that in that way accepting and valuing the child, bringing the value of the child as a human being, as someone with potentials, can help really strike a dialogue. And it is something very important, particularly for educated parents. For illiterate parents, they may never strike a conversation, and it's something that actually hurts, and we just advise them also. Probably, maybe in the radio station, I think media can play a role in this, when, just like you are doing now, the local TV stations and radio stations which pass information through vernacular can now start adopting such conversations for the people who don't understand English.
Yes.
Maybe right now I'm talking about post-exam anxiety, and there's a parent who is not understanding my English, but they really want to understand what I say. So I like every community to adopt it in their vernacular way, and probably we have also the education sector to take part of it, the county education directors or the county governments to plan for sensitization and awareness of at least, because post-exam anxiety is something that is there, to at least arrange some programs. It can even run just one day that parents are briefed about acceptance and how to accept their children and start dialogue. So it is that professionalism and kind of information that is needed.
I love how you've ensured that every single person in the community, ensuring that you've told them they do each have a role to play.
Yeah.
And I see that there are 2 books here. I think we're coming to the end of the show, so I'd like you to just hold up the books and tell everybody what it's exactly about.
As we said, this first one, it's a book. The title is called Claim Your Mental Freedom. It's usually, as it suggests, it's a book I have written to liberate the minds of the young people. As a person who has experienced, can I say, mental slavery, something like that, something of the sort, because I was indoctrinated to believe that, okay, I am this person because of my grades, I can go to this course because of my grades. And based on this book right now, after I published the book, I started now speaking what the book says about to our local schools back in Northeastern, whereby we can converse to and fro.
Yes.
Apparently, I'm volunteering with an organization called Northeastern Youth for Development, NAID, whereby we offer mentorship, not only now I wrote, but any student cannot access. But through that organization, I speak about mental freedom. I speak about and tell students on how to make sure at least a change of mindset. Let me say, initiate a change of mindset towards to more growth mindset, to an abundant mindset, and liberating them from fixed mindset. Basically, this book will make you question that, why do you think the way you think? So, and I speak about it through our mentorship programs, and which is voluntary. So, and it is a community and a non-governmental organization, let me say, whereby right now it's one of the things that we need is what we do.
Yes.
What the community needs is what we highly do, and we highly encourage anyone who can partner us, because we are propelling our community towards quality education. As a volunteer of that organization, I usually speak my book, a lot of my whatever is in my book there. The second book is poetry. It's a collection of 107 poems. As the topic suggests, it is called, the title is Winter Sun, and 106 other poems, which I published late 2022.
Yes.
So the poems range from different topics. You can see poems from, poems include from, we have poems which demonstrate love, poems which demonstrate purpose, poems which we have sonnets, vices, virtues.
And for anyone who's able to view, this is the book we're talking about.
Yeah, and they're available, both my books are available at Nuria Store, nuriakenya.com.
Yes.
Yeah, Nuria Store is where someone can find my books, and particularly more of mental freedom is what we need the whole community to come together and at least we rewrite our scripts.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think this has been one of the highlights of the Muslim Insight, to listen to a young girl, an author, a life coach. Thank you so much, Sadia, for joining us here on Horizon TV. I think anything else you'd like to finish off with shortly?
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Jamia, the Jamia Mosque. By the way, I usually come here for meetings in twice a month. We usually have, and they host us for the mentorship program meetings, and sometimes even mentoring university students in one of their halls. I'd like really to thank the Jamia Institute, and we also ask the other Muslim member communities to at least join hands so that we can propel our community towards quality education and help them free their minds.
MashaAllah.
Thank you so much.
I think that brings us to the end of today's show. Once again, this was the Muslim Insight, and the topic of discussion today was dealing with post-exam anxiety. Once again, thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV. My name is Nadia Osman, and my sign language interpreter today was Ilhan Noor. Ma'as salam.